Now on AT40, I have the current hit by the artist who was told that his piano playing was too good and that he'd have to learn to play and sing as badly as Jerry Lee Lewis if he hoped to succeed. Well, that was the advice that producer-arranger Bill Justice of Sun Records gave Charlie Rich nearly 20 years ago. And Justice wasn't kidding, because at the time, Jerry Lee was one of Sun's biggest stars. Justice said that Charlie was too jazzy, that his voice was fine, but his songs and his musical arrangements were far too complicated. Well, I think Charlie finally got the hang of it, because his current pop hit, up to number 16 this week, was number 1 in the country charts just a few weeks ago. Behind Closed Doors at number 16 this week, a former number 1 country song by Charlie Rich.
Number 15.
Now at number 10 this week, a country boy whose record producer 15 years ago voted him most likely to succeed over other big-name performers who were also starting out on his label. His success was longest in coming. In the 50s, Charlie Rich came to the attention of Sam Phillips, owner of Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee, who produced his very first hit. At the same time, he also produced records for Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis, who were also starting their careers. Well, Sam Phillips thought that Charlie had the most potential and would establish himself long before the others. But the reverse seemed to happen. Johnny, Roy, Carl, and Jerry started charting in the 50s, and it wasn't until the 60s that Charlie's name came to the attention of record buyers. Well, Charlie Rich is going strong these days and was recently voted the nation's number 1 country singer by the Country Music Association. Here he is with his second hit this year, following his super hit Behind Closed Doors. This one moves up to number 10 this week. By the way, it's currently number 1 in the country charts. The Most Beautiful Girl.
Hey, if you happen to see the most...
First week in the top 10 for Charlie Rich with his latest title, The Most Beautiful Girl.
American Top 40.
Now on AT40, here's the first singer in 5 years to take a song all the way to the top of both the country and the pop charts. Here's Charlie Rich, and here is that song.
Hey, tell her I'm sorry.
At number 12, after 6 weeks in the top 10, Charlie Rich with the biggest hit he's had to date, The Most Beautiful Girl.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40. This next singer has a couple of chart records, both of them in the 40. It's the man that some people call the Great White Soul Singer. Little wonder he's been surrounded by music all his life. His parents were members of the church quartet. They sang country gospel songs, and rehearsals were often held in his home. Then, from the time he learned to walk, he was out in the Colt, Arkansas cotton plantations, growing up and absorbing the soulful and bluesy music of the Blackfield Hands. And from these roots, he picked up the country blues style that is all his own. Here he is, staking that claim once again. At number 22, Charlie Rich, and a very special love song.
Hey,
That move from 29 to 22, third week on American Top 40, Charlie Rich with a very special love song.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Records in a row at number 18 and number 17, both by the same artist and both moving up the chart. Now, between the time Billboard phoned us the survey and the time these words are being recorded, we could not possibly have done all the research necessary to be positive. But to the best of our memories here at AT40, 2 records in a row by the same artist and both moving up hasn't happened since the Beatles reigned supreme back in the 60s. And who's doing it now? Well, it's the pianist and songwriter who hit number 21 during the peak Beatle days with a song called Mohair Sam, the man who just won a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance by a Male, the man who has a medley of climbing hits on American Top 40 this week. There Won't Be Any More, and a very special love song, Charlie Rich.
There just won't be any more.
Charlie Rich with 2 crossover country records back-to-back. That one went number 1, There Won't Be Any More. And this one is headed in the same direction on the country charts. At number 17, a very special love song. At number 17 in our survey in American Top 40, Charlie Rich with a very special love song. 16 hits to a new number 1 and counting them down.
The hits from coast to coast.
You know, the record charts are sprinkled with little ironies, and one such twist is connected with an entry in our AT40 book of records. In 1974, a popular country artist established an all-time record on the country chart for most number 1 singles in the same year. He had 5 of them. Now, what makes this so special, I mean, besides the tremendous feat of hitting 5 number 1 songs in a year, is that this artist had begun his music career as a rock and roll singer. In fact, he never even hit the country chart until 8 years after his first pop hit. But he never really made it that big as a pop singer. He had only 2 top 40 hits, Lonely Weekends in 1960 and Mohair Sam in 65. Then, in 1968, he started hitting the country chart. And by 74, he was hitting so fast and so furious that 5 of his songs all hit number 1 between March and December of that year. I'm talking about the man who, if he can't be identified by his first pop hit, Lonely Weekends, can certainly be identified by his biggest pop hit, The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. He's the man they call the Silver Fox, Charlie Rich, the country singer with the most number 1 songs in the country survey in a single year, 5 of them. Another big record maker in our AT40 book of records.
Now on with the countdown.